Well, most human beings follow each other because it's a comfort zone. It's much easier to follow each other. And most human beings are very, very similar to each other, very close replicas of each other. And to break away from that takes going into the real discomfort and feeling very separate from that. People don't really want to do that. Hence why so few people go off in various ways in their life, maybe going into maybe setting up a business themselves, maybe having an interest or a hobby that's completely different from other people, maybe picking something that isn't a popular choice in subject or anything that they're into. So many different aspects, where they live, all different things. Now, the crowd is obviously going to be comfortable, and most people do tend to follow the crowd. And now the crowd can obviously get out of hand when there's fear and so on. People can obviously take on sort of radical ideas, and then the crowd follows it, and everyone goes along with it, and then people start to believe it's fact and so on. And we see that in lots of political situations. We see that a lot today. So those kinds of things happen with crowds. Now, how does that relate to OCD? Well, to OCD that relates because it's fear of rejection from the crowd. What if the crowd judges me? What if I'm seen badly by the crowd? But who said that the crowd is right? Who said the crowd is accurate? That's their interpretation. And in my experience, usually the crowd's wrong. Usually what the majority of people doing is something to question, because they do tend to follow each other without a lot of thought in a lot of things. So that tends to happen. So we're so concerned about getting rejected by the crowd. Sometimes that can be the best thing for us. We can suddenly see, I was rejected by that group at school, and now I have carved out a life that I prefer, or I've been myself. You don't want to be a replica of the crowd, living for what the crowd likes, not for what you like. Many things will form unpopular opinion. If, for example, you're into classical music today, that's not going to be accepted by the crowd, because the crowd tends to like things that are popular today. Now, the crowds can also go wrong, of course, and we often see that, in the sense that the crowd is going to keep pushing for different things. If we look at a lot of music today, for example, things can just be auto-tuned with sort of very little talent in certain areas. And because it's sort of catchy and people like it and it gets shared on social media, it's popular. And we're moving away more and more from a lot of different things that we used to like, or we appreciated. And things become like that, especially with reality TV, where things are very talentless, but because there's lots of followers, people then follow it and so on. And you can see this with the likes of TikTok and so on, with people chasing to be liked, because social media rewards you on how being more outrageous and more different, more sort of different things like that is going to be rewarded with likes. So that's going to encourage people to do more dancing TikToks, more sort of videos that create a big reaction, and more of that. But then where does the line come in? Because obviously people can do more and more of those all the time, but then humans will start just chasing more. You'll see people nowadays saying things like, I'm doing an OnlyFans account, I've built a great business doing it, I feel empowered. Well, are you really empowered? Are you really empowered doing what you're doing? A lot of people use that word to sort of hide something that they're not actually empowered by, and they think they are. So a lot of things are like that. Of course, there are elements in all these things which you can see where people came to those ideas, and it can have huge benefits, both financially and so on. But often the crowd is going to keep pushing for more. So if the crowd is keeping pushing for more, then what point does a human being then think, okay, how far am I going to go with this? How far does it become too far? How far does it become where it's become a problem? Now, why are we highlighting this in relation to OCD? Because we have to see the extent, the irrational sides that society goes to. By seeing that, it then helps us to become more rational. When we see how irrational society is. Now, let's be blunt here, because that's what I do, and I have to do that at times, to highlight those things, is if we're going to be blunt, compassionately blunt, let's look at things that human beings do. Human beings chase on social media to be liked by people that they don't know, so they will do radical things to get that attention. And then there's the chase for fame, which is usually the acceptance that often they didn't get from the family, and they feel they need everyone to notice them to get that acceptance, so there's a chase of that as well. So you have that combination happening. Now, say you decide decide not to do that, you may then feel feelings of, oh, I feel separate, oh, I'm not as good because they're all doing that. But who said what they're doing was the right thing? It only feels like that because the crowd follows it. But the crowd follows anything. The crowd follows anything. The crowd, somebody could just do some video, some footballer could put a tattoo anywhere on his body without any much thought, and it would then become popular if enough people did it. Now, that will happen. We see that with lots of things. You've only got to look back at fashion. We can look back at lots of people that have done things, celebrities have done different things in the past that we look at now and we think, bloody hell, it looks absolutely ridiculous. And future civilization will be looking and think, Jesus, look at that. Because that's what crowds do. They follow what is popular. They follow those things, right?